Be as weird as you want.
What's up, weirdos? Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast, presented by Hippo Direct. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur or innovator every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Branstetter, digital marketing dude at Hippo Direct, and you can reach me at max@hippodirect.com for help using your podcast as a marketing tool. This is episode Ocho Cinco, and today's guests are Kat and Jethro Gilligan Toth from the Box of Oddities. They have created one of my favorite podcasts of all time, and if you like hearing stories about the weird, the bizarre, the unusual, the freakish, even freakish, this is the place for you. They've amassed millions of downloads, perform in front of live audiences, and have even been tweeted out by Jimmy Kimmel. Today they talk about some of their favorite stories, what they've learned from building the Box of Oddities, and how they are a shining example of the success that can come when you embrace your weirdness or just stand out, whatever you're doing. So let's open the wild Box of Oddities. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with two of the most creative and odd and freakish, I use that as a compliment, podcasters you'll ever hear from. Kat and Jethro Gilligan Toth from the famous The Box of Oddities podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Great, Max. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic as well. I do have to share that when we were chatting a little bit beforehand, without being prompted, you guys brought up a story about raccoon penises. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome.
We try to work that into conversation as much as we can.
I imagine, yeah, that probably bodes really well with everyone. So this is really neat. I discovered you guys some point in the last year, and I'm always interested in things that are unique or weird or odd. And so when I heard about your podcast, I was just, my face lit up. My box of raccoon penises was erect, and I just was so excited to listen to it, and now I'm totally hooked to your show. So really appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. So we're going to get into how you guys have built and grown the Box of Oddities, but also I think this is something that can apply whether you're a podcaster or not. There's just something to the aspect of being odd, being different, and standing out, and how well that can work from a business and branding standpoint as well. So we'll get to that. Before we dive into that, I want you guys to look inward, not literally, but I want you guys to think about this concept of odd or oddities. And when was the first time that you had a sort of odd experience or knew you had a passion for this area?
Oh gosh. I think as one grows and becomes more comfortable with oneself, I think that the things that make us different are the things that we really start to appreciate about ourselves and the things that we appreciate in other people. And I know when I was young, the fact that I had odd interests, or the fact that my mom was insane, or the fact, the fact that we once had ducks living in our bathtub, those things were embarrassing or weird, and I didn't want to talk about them. But as I got older, I was like, okay, this is what I can make stories out of, and this is how I can share myself with people. And so as I got older, it was something that I found that I appreciated about others, and I found that they appreciated that I could provide for them. So I guess it's always been there, but it's only been since I've been an older person, elderly, you might say, that I've
or
really,
you might not.
that I really started to really appreciate it, not just about myself, but about others.
Yeah, I think that when you're younger, you spend a lot of time just trying to fit in. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be different. But as you get older, you start to appreciate those who are different. Similar experience for me. My mom was really good at doing weird stuff, and I didn't understand it when I was younger, but looking back on it now, I recognize what she was doing, which was creating memories. And she would do strange things, like when lunch was ready, when I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old, instead of calling me up to the second floor apartment for lunch, she would put it in a shoebox and lower it down over the side of the house with a rope. And I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. And I thought, wow, my mom's really, really creative and odd. And then I found out later she just didn't like to watch me eat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't want to push any buttons there, but that's what I was thinking as well. With the
Yeah.
shoebox, was it a different brand of shoe for a different type of sandwich there?
No, she was a Tom McCann man. So everything came in Tom McCann's shoe boxes.
Okay, so you guys clearly, between the ducks and the shoes, have some interesting memories and stories from your childhood. When was the moment that you thought, as opposed to just thinking of these weird or bizarre experiences as memories or something to talk about with your friends, that you could actually take this and use a platform and share stories this way to a larger audience that people have come to really, really love?
I can think of one specific afternoon. It was a summer afternoon. We were lounging about our luxurious above ground inflatable pool and trying to think of ways that
Don't be a braggart, okay?
Yeah.
Yep. We're high class. Anyway, we were trying to think of ways. Wouldn't it be great if we could, because we love to travel, wouldn't it be great if we could travel and have a vocation that would allow us to continue to work while we traveled? And so we started trying to identify ways to do that. And podcasting came up. Kat had been listening a lot to My Favorite Murder and really liked what they were doing. And we went to see one of their live shows and we were inspired by that. We thought, well, okay, podcasting, how can we create something unique, something that's our own authentic voice? And so we just started thinking about things that we normally talk about. And we normally talk about bizarre and odd things. We'll come home, one of us will say, hey, did you hear about XYZ? No, I didn't, and we'll end up discussing it. And so we took that, and that was how we built the framework for the Box of Oddities.
Wow. So first of all, stay away from Kat, who would just do to you all the murder interest. But yeah, there's a clear passion there. You guys saw that in them and took it your own. I'm fascinated about this because you guys obviously are deep in the podcast world now. You're deep in the radio world. I almost said, there used to be this thing called radio. Radio is still big as well. But can you talk about that for a little bit? How would you characterize the biggest difference in being focused on podcasts versus radio?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, yeah, we both worked in radio for some time. I don't anymore, but I did, and there are obvious similarities, and there are things that are incredibly different. And then there are those things that you find along the way that are different that you didn't realize would be different, which I found pretty interesting. Obviously, radio has an immediacy. There's, it's free. There's a backgroundness to it. With podcasting, you have to choose to listen. And I think because of that, you become invested. And because you can listen to it whenever you want, there's a availability and I don't know, a bond that you create. Like, this is yours and you've chosen it. It lives on your phone or wherever. And it's something that you've picked.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've talked a lot about this, the two of us have, the difference between, say, a morning radio show versus listening to a podcast. And she hit the nail right on the head. There is a real investment, it seems. If somebody finds you and they like what you're doing, then you, in their mind, kind of belong to them. It's something special that they have. And so there is a bonding that I've never seen. I've done a lot of morning radio shows, and they talk about getting the listeners involved being an important element of it. And it's great when you can do that. With podcasting, they're already involved because they've downloaded you and they're invested in it. They want to like you. They don't want to feel like they've wasted their time. So you have a little bit more of an advantage, I think. And just the level of participation is so much higher. We can't keep up with the emails and the messages. We do the best we can, but we're just overrun. with them. And we're grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, sorry for sending you like 14 emails over the past couple of weeks, but
sorry it took like 2 weeks to get back to you.
no problem. I'm just assumed you're at a raccoon penis convention anyway.
That was last month, Max. Let's not exaggerate here.
Let's get to the Box of Oddities. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that, but Box of Oddities. So for anybody who's listening who hasn't listened to the Box of Oddities yet, I already mentioned it's an incredible show, and Kat and Jethro will kindly pay me for that after the show. But the concept is very simple. And one of you, and you guys switch off who goes first, but either Kat or Jethro will share a bizarre or odd story. And there's that thing in the middle, and then either Kat or Jethro, who hasn't shared, will share another story. And so it's such a simple concept. It's beautiful. I don't know if it's ever been described as beautiful before, but it has now. So how did you guys iron out that concept in the first place to get it to that point?
Well, I am a list writer. I have notebooks and I treasure my notebooks, and they have to be a specific size and weight and thickness of paper. And I love, love, love notes and lists and graphs. And so we literally sat down on the couch with multicolored Sharpies and notebooks, and we just worked out like, how would this flow well? What is it that we want to accomplish? How do we want to get that across? How will we make it sound good and palatable? And so we even took into consideration like, okay, well, what if you have like this length commute? Okay, well, maybe you have time for one story, and how long should that be? And we tried to consider lots of different things, but at the same time, make it accessible and, of course, beautiful on my notepad.
Right.
The idea was that we wanted to create the types of conversations that we had in our house. So we would start, I would tell her a story, and when we record it, she doesn't know what I'm going to talk about, and vice versa.
I imagine nobody does.
Yeah, that's been an issue, Max. It has. And then we wanted to break the stories up for a number of different reasons. One was just somebody actually in a review on iTunes referred to the thing in the middle as a palate cleanser. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it's kind of, okay, now we're done with this. Here's a little bonus thing, and now we're going to do something else.
Here's a small cup of coffee beans to smell, and
before the next fragrance,
and then the next
story. And plus we thought we're thinking ahead as far as flow of the show went. If this show becomes successful and we do get advertisers, how are we going to get in and out of the commercials more seamlessly, but also at the same time in an organized way? And we thought, well, we'll do this thing in the middle, and then the most logical thing for commercials would be to place them after that before the next segment. So there was a strategy behind that.
Yeah. So you guys didn't just like roll a pair of dice and then see what comes up, and that's how you figure it out.
No.
Okay.
Oh, that stresses me out just thinking of it.
Yeah. Don't get me started on the notebooks. But so you guys have had incredible growth, wild business growth, just to put some random words together.
Sure.
And you guys have just had so much success in the podcasting space. When you think of all the different things you've done and tried out, because as anybody knows, it's such a commitment, what would you say is the biggest growth driver for you guys as far as growing the Box of Oddities?
Well, control what you can control. And when we first started and nobody was listening, we could control the quality of the content or try to do the best job that we could, and then to do it consistently.
Yeah.
And very early on, we took a bit of a gamble. I think we'd only been maybe doing the show for 2 months, and we were doing one episode a week. Very early on, maybe 60, 80, 90 days into it, we said, let's do 2 a week. We had no advertisers. It was a big commitment, but we wanted to demonstrate to anybody listening that we were committed to this, that we weren't just going to, dump 20 shows and leave, that this was a long-term commitment for us. And we felt that would make people feel as though It will make it easier for them to commit to us and commit to the to subscribing.
And we've just hit 200 episodes, and we've never missed a drop date.
Not one.
Congratulations.
2 a week.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's been grueling. We went on a brief live show tour during Halloween, and we had to put, I don't know how, like 6 or 8 episodes in the can before we went to meet that commitment. That was a challenge. That was a big challenge.
Yeah, well, I appreciate any challenge on the can.
I don't. At my age, no. I don't need any more challenges.
And now a word from our sponsor, Citrussil tablets.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I've been trying to iron out that contract.
But there you go.
When was the moment that you guys realized, hey, we have something cooking here? You know, this isn't a little hobby that we're just going to each listen to. Like there's something bigger brewing here.
I don't know when it was for you.
Maybe when Jimmy Kimmel tweeted us out, then I thought, okay.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad thing to happen to you.
Right. That was, yeah, I think even then I was still like, I don't know, I tend to be a safety kind of person, and I don't want to get too excited about something. And I mean, I believed in what we were doing, but I've seen so many podcasts not do well. And so I think it was a little bit later for me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when we hit 1 million downloads, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. We're doing this.
Yeah. I remember we were at, I remember the first month that we did the show, I think we had 30 downloads that month, or maybe 100 or something like that. And we were feeling pretty good about that.
Thanks, sis.
And yeah. And then we hit 1,000. And I remember that moment. It was maybe 6 weeks into it. We were at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And we took a picture of us celebrating our first 1,000 downloads
in the lumber aisle.
Ooh. And then just watching it gain some traction over the next few months was such a joy, because it's like our baby. We care very much about this project and this product, and the fact that people seem to like it is very gratifying. We're so grateful for this opportunity that we've been given. It's been a lot of fun watching it grow.
You have to be grateful for the lumber aisle as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, every day I wake up and I give thanks for wood.
That's probably most people. So no, it is cool. You can feel your passion for what you do. And when you listen to the show, you just hear it. And you guys are you're both such amazing storytellers. So that obviously helps. But in addition to what you actually put out from the content side, it's there's so much behind the scenes as far as being diligent and keeping yourself focused on putting these episodes out and not missing a week or a bye week, as you mentioned. Another part of what I like about your show so much is the oddities aspect. So that might come as a huge shocker to you, but there's something to this concept of being odd, being weird, being bizarre, which I think you hear it in the business world a lot about standing out or being different or zigging when someone's zagging. Like there's so many idioms, like we could just, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, just to use another idiom, Jesus. But, but you guys have created, like, you are happy to be weird and freaks and bizarre and out there, and it's totally helped you stand out. What do you like about having your brand or podcast be that way, that it is so different?
The community.
Yeah, no question about that. This community is kind of built up around the podcast that kind of celebrates freakdom, if you will.
I like that.
The people that I mean, Kat just in an early episode just threw out at the end of the episode, "Keep flying that freak flag." And so it's become kind of like our sign off, but people who listen have taken that word freak and started wearing it like a badge of honor. Yeah, I'm a freak. I like the fact that I'm different. And that's, I think, one of the coolest things that we weren't expecting to see.
yeah, pretty early on, we got an email from a woman whose young daughter was interested in weird things. She had an interest in the macabre and was into like vampires and just had a lot of interests that other kids didn't think were, cool. And so when she wrote to us and said that when she and her kid were listening to this podcast, her child was just so excited to hear that there were people who were jazzed about the idea that she was different and, we're different and we're okay. I mean,
relatively speaking.
And she can be too. And she muckled right on to the idea that it's okay to be weird. And that to us was just everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It's okay. It's more than okay, one would argue. What advice do you have for being weird and embracing your freakdom?
Just find your authentic self. Everybody, there's nobody like you. It's almost cliche to say, but you have your voice, your point of view, and nobody else has that. Sometimes it's difficult to find what that voice and point of view is, but when you do, you should show it. As long as you're being kind to people, be as weird as you want.
Have you ever seen any sort of backlash? Like, have you come across people that are just kind of rubbed the wrong way by all the weirdness?
No, I don't think because of the weirdness. My guess is, those people just turn it off. But we've had some interesting reviews. One guy on iTunes said he hated our podcast because he hates happy podcasters. Like, what does that mean?
Oh, it sounds like a wonderful person.
Sir.
Wow. Okay. You felt inspired to write that. All righty.
Yeah. I hate when people get happy.
Yeah, I do
gross.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's disgusting. When you guys have said, if we're going to think of the collective Box of Oddities, this is a giant box for all the odd stories that you've shared. If you each had to pick one that was your favorite, first thing that comes to mind, don't think about it a lot. Which one is it?
All right. Mine would be the Cheddar Man Story, which is not quite as bizarre as the title sounds. But in Cheddar, France, they found some Neanderthal bones in a cave outside of a village. And they were well enough preserved that they were able to sequence the DNA from these 12,000-year-old bones. And they thought, this would be interesting. Let's do a DNA test, random DNA tests, to see if any ancestors from this Neanderthal are still existing in the form of a modern day person. And so history classes all over France had the students submit a DNA test. And one history professor did it himself. And it came back a positive hit that he was a direct descendant of this Neanderthal skeleton person, I guess, at one time in the cave in Cheddar, France. And what was interesting was he lived less than 20 kilometers from that cave. His family didn't get out much, I guess, and
Yeah.
I just find stuff like that fascinating. Anything that connects yesterday with today in an in a direct connection, in a direct line, is fascinating to me, that we can reach back in time that far and touch it.
I have a terrible memory. So
Thanks. That was a very casual segue. I like it.
I know. Sometimes people would be like, "What do you talk about?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I have nothing for you."
All right, everybody, turn the lights off and close the blinds. Let's get it out.
There have been times where I have brought to the table a story that my loveliest here will go, "Yeah, we've talked about that."
Ooh.
Or but we actually have a couple of amazing people who follow the podcast who have created charts for me, so I know what we've talked about.
Yeah, that's the type of audience participation that we encourage when they do our work for us.
Yes, please. Yeah, but you had a story one time that just blew my mind, and it was the woman who kept getting robbed at various hotels. You know, she would go from town to town, and she had this trunk of jewels with her, and it was like this treasure trove of stuff that the whole town like was enamored. Where did she get this? What is she doing with it? It's incredible. And she'd go from hotel to hotel, and she kept getting robbed. And then it was uncovered that in the trunk was not actually treasures. It was a very small person
Mm-hmm.
that she kept in the trunk. And when the keepers of the hotels would stash the trunk for her, he would break out in the middle of the night and steal all their stuff and put it in the trunk. And that caught me like
Oh my God.
so off guard. And I was so surprised that I just started yelling. I was like, I love this story so much. And that's the kind of thing that I love to, I love and that's why we don't tell each other what we're going to talk about, because I love being surprised with a story. I love a zig rather than a zag.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Mhm.
I'm a zag man myself.
Yeah. Oh, we all know that. But the surprise part is brilliant because it just adds to it. And you hear that in like in the movie or TV show world as well, that sometimes some of the best scenes in movies are when one of the actors or actresses doesn't know what's coming, or it's like something that's a surprise from another cast member. So I love that you guys take that approach as well. And the words that keep coming up are love and fascination, which is just, I guess, passion in a nutshell. But that's what you guys focus on. So there's no mystery why you guys are motivated to keep putting out and sharing these incredible stories.
Well, we really enjoy telling bizarre and odd stories, and some of them, frankly, can get pretty dark.
Yeah, thanks, Kat.
Sorry about that.
But we always try to be accepting. We try to promote kindness and acceptance, I think, more than anything. And that's a weird combination when you think about it. You're doing a story about some person that's been beheaded, and then trying to work some humor into it, as well as being
sweet and loving.
Yeah.
And
you can't lose your head over it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right?
That's why we came up with it's not really a positioning statement, but the tagline for our podcast is the Box of Oddities, the podcast with a heart and sometimes entrails.
Imagine you started your own podcast. You're growing your brand, sharing your expertise, maybe even your terrible puns, and meeting fascinating people. That is awesome. Now, imagine all the hours you've lost every week due to the podcast's demands. Not so awesome. I am your podcast producer. Email me at max@hippodirect.com. Let's get to a segment on inspiration and creativity. So I have to ask, where the hell do these stories come from?
All different sources. Oftentimes we'll find an article, and within that article will be some little fact, and it'll send us off in a different direction, and we'll end up doing an entire episode on just one little piece of a larger story because that little piece is so interesting. I got an idea for an episode from watching Law and Order SVU recently. And I thought, well, if that's real, that would be a great topic. So I looked it up, what they were talking about, and it was, in fact, real.
Also, we recently, especially, have been receiving a ton of topic suggestions from people who listen to the show. So again, people doing our work for us, it's really nice.
We're all thumbs up about that. Because basically we're lazy, Max, is what we're trying to say.
There it is. Okay. I was going to have to probe there a little bit more. But no, that is amazing. I mean, it really is, I guess, your job. It gets easier in the effect that you get more and more suggestions from people, but it kind of gets tougher at the same time because then you have to be way more selective.
Well, that's the beauty of the internet. There's no end to it. You can't finish the internet. And I think we go about it differently than we did when we first started. There were a ton of stories that we both had backlogged, just things that we were going to tell each other that we were able to translate into an episode, or I think 10. The first 10 we had planned out in advance. And yeah, you do a story, you can't do it again, but there are, as I said before, millions of little things in maybe a larger story that can inspire you to find a new topic that way.
And the people who will send us suggestions also will sometimes send presents. So not long ago, one of our listeners sent me the Dictionary of Folklore. And these are these enormous books. They're huge. They probably weigh 40 pounds. And it's just chock-a-block of delights from different parts of history and different parts of the world. So, I mean, just that book is more episodes than I could ever do.
Oh my God. That's insane. It is crazy. Like when you really think of it, there are endless stories out there.
Yeah.
So it's just how diligent you are about finding them and your approach to it. On that note, though, what is the most random gift you've ever received?
Well, the oddest one was at our show in DC a couple of weeks ago. Somebody brought us a wet specimen. It's our very first wet specimen.
It is.
You always remember your first wet specimen.
It's a special time for us.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
It's a raccoon heart with a snake right through the middle of the heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's in a jar of alcohol.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds like the gifts I get as well.
Just the thing to brighten up our den.
I was like, how are we going to pack this and get this home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, TSA, explain this.
If only you guys knew what you were signing up for when you created the show. That's it. That's what you signed up for.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
We can actually shut down the show now.
Yeah.
I have my snake through heart. I'm all set.
Wow. How, on the creativity side, what do you guys do to stay creative and keep coming up with creative things to share out?
Well, we like to share things from our personal life and tell stories, weird things that have happened to us in real life before we will go ahead and share our researched material. And so we carry notebooks around. I mean, it's, nothing novel there, but we've become much better at writing things down. Things will strike us funny or odd throughout the day. Something that Kat says that strikes me funny, I'll write it down because I'll bring it up later, and otherwise I'd forget. So it's just a matter of organizing your thoughts and keeping track of things. We all get good ideas, but I think that it's just really easy to forget them. So we write it down.
It's so helpful because then you don't have to worry about remembering them.
Yeah, here's an example. I wrote this down. The other night we were listening to music on the Echo, the Amazon Echo, and we play a little game. We'll choose a topic, and we have to pick songs. We take turns picking songs within the specific category, and it was vacation songs because we were getting ready to go on vacation. And so I picked one, and I
think
said,
it was Pina Colada.
Yeah, something cheesy.
Escape,
yeah,
Pina Colada song or something like that.
And then Kat says, Alexa, play Rain of Blood by Slayer. And that just struck me funny, so I wrote it down, and maybe I'll work it in some. Oh, I just did. Okay, there we go.
Oh my God. Okay, my brain is about to explode. So you guys, I guess everything's technically on the record then, if you guys are writing everything down you see?
Yeah, well, there are certain things that, we won't, but we do share incredibly personal information. For example, Kat has a little idiosyncrasy. Whenever she sits down to pee, she rubs her hands together like that.
Oh, like starting a fire.
Why are we talking about this?
Oh, wait. That was one thing you didn't want me to talk about. Oh, okay. I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say she always hangs her bras on the bathroom door, on the door handle, but on the outside. So when I go to close it, the bra will fly in and get jammed between the door and the door jamb. And I got trapped in there.
Oh no, you got attacked by bras.
I didn't get attacked by bras, but the door jamb, the doorknob got stuck at the bra, and I couldn't get the door open. I had to crawl out the window.
They were certainly working against him. Yes.
You'd think it would, with all the support, it would help the door, but I guess not.
It will certainly help you keep abreast of things.
Oh God. So you guys, no, that was actually very
Boobs.
good. That was very
Boobs are fun.
We're going to draw this one out. So you guys clearly have like incredible camaraderie. And how many years you guys been married?
Almost 5 years, but
Almost 5.
we've been together for a decade.
Okay. Well, congrats on that. I'm just going to congratulate you guys on everything.
Oh,
No,
thank
thanks.
you.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
I had breakfast this morning.
Congrats. You
Aw.
got, but you guys have such great camaraderie. Is there ever there's kind of, I mean, you guys definitely have like a playful vibe when you're teasing each other, but is there ever a moment where you guys are actually upset that somebody shared something, or upset that something was revealed, whether it be your bra in the door or not?
Yeah, I mean, there have been times where, we'll kind of stop and go, is that something we want to put out there?
Mm.
And I think it's one of those things that not as far as our personal lives go, we're pretty open with that, but sometimes it's maybe an opinion.
Yeah, that's a great approach. And what about outside of the box of oddities, outside the box? Think outside the box here. So what hobbies do you guys have? Like how do you like to spend your free time when you're not taking notes?
I don't remember free time. I
It
know
was
that
quite the era.
there was a time.
There was a time.
We like to travel. That's the thing that I
That's
want
our-
to do
our
above
passion.
all else. It's why I do other things, is so I can go places.
Yeah. That's our number one passion. But as far as hobbies, I think a lot of what we enjoy doing lends itself very well to producing this podcast, because we both like to read. We both like to watch documentaries. We find enjoyment in just gathering strange knowledge.
You guys know.
Yeah, it's true, Max.
Yeah.
But
The truth comes out.
I enjoy woodworking. I built a bookcase once.
You did. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's the best bookcase.
Thank you, sweetie.
You're welcome.
You guys are so cute. So let's get to a fan favorite segment called the Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
The Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
Wild Business Shout Out of the Week. This is where we talk about a brand or campaign that caught our attention. And this is going to be a mystery edition. So what do you guys want to cover for your Wild Business Shout Out or shout outs of the week?
Absolutely. We were on a trip not long ago, and we were watching TV, and a commercial came on, and we both laughed and laughed and laughed. And then after it was over, I was like, that was great.
You're talking about the Hyundai commercial?
Yeah, the Sonata commercial.
It was Smart Park. Have you
Snap
seen that?
Pack.
Have you seen that one, Max? That TV
Smart Pack?
Yeah, Smart Park.
I'm not sure.
Smart Park. It's a feature that Hyundai has for their car, but it's being discussed by people from Boston. So it's like Smart Pack. Did you pack it in the harbor? I packed it in the harbor.
It's John Krasinski, Rachel Dratch, and Chris Evans.
Oh, yeah.
They're all from Boston, and their original accents like come out hard, and so they're talking about the benefits of Smart Pack.
Smart Pack.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we're from New England. We live in Maine, in Bangor, Maine, home of Stephen King. Well, actually, we live in Stephen King's home. That's a little known.
In the basement. Don't tell him.
Yeah.
Really? Well, congrats on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Congrats
You're
for
very
that, too.
supportive.
Yeah. Had breakfast as well.
We're very familiar with regional accents, and we love it when people make fun of it.
It's funny. I've seen that commercial tons, but I guess I've just kind of been in autopilot mode and like wasn't really paying attention. Like I definitely recognize the actors, actresses that you said, but I wasn't really paying attention. But now I got to pay attention to the words. So thank you. But I think that commercial kind of epitomizes what you guys are, because it is different enough to stand out and to stand out to you. And you guys are like constantly looking for things to share stories about. So that same sort of approach of being a bit different, or zigging and zagging. I know you guys are split on the zigzag debate, but is really what made that commercial successful as well.
Yeah, and I think personally, if a commercial's funny, if I find something funny, I'm more apt to remember it anyway. I'm always looking for humor anywhere. And
He's a guy who enjoys humor.
yeah,
What are you going to do?
Jeez, that just sounds miserable.
I know. I love it when people say they like humor.
I like to laugh.
Yeah, I like to eat. I like to breathe.
Airs meat.
Yeah, no, but it's true. No, humor is so powerful. Like no matter what you're doing, it's always a way. I think in my old job, which was much more corporate, I would like that was kind of how I'd make my way into meetings. Like I always, if I was like nervous for a big meeting or something, like I just would crack a dad joke or something like that.
Sure. There you go. That always works.
Yeah.
I worked for a big radio corporation. Well, at the time, it was the biggest one in the United States. I won't mention Clear Channel's name, but I worked for them, and they fired me. I knew they were going to fire me. And so I wore a clown nose into the meeting and made them fire a guy wearing a clown nose.
Oh my God.
I once got fired dressed as She-Ra, but that wasn't on purpose.
Well, that was just an accident.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you told me that story. You went to work it was Halloween.
It was Halloween.
And you dressed as She-Ra, and they had to fire you while you were dressed as
Well, they didn't have to. They chose to.
They chose to. Okay. They had an option.
I love this though. That I'm imagining like a whole series or movement here of the costume firing, mascot firing.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
Oh, you're gonna fire me?
Well, you're gonna have to fire a clown.
Right. Yeah. Listen to how much these shoes squeak. So only a little bit of time left. Let's wrap up with a couple quicker segments here. First one is the unusual. So, since everything we've talked about so far has been so normal, let's talk about the unusual for a little bit. Pet peeves, quirks, and weird talents. So you guys can fight for who gets to go first for each of these, but I'd love to hear from both of you. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Oof.
People that aren't kind.
That's a good one.
This world is so divisive right now, and it's so us versus them, and we need to remember that we're all on the same team here. And when people they get snippy on social media, that's my pet peeve.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, people who don't use their blinkers. That's
yeah.
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 Yours was better though. Yours had a little more heart to it. Sorry about that.
I think those are both equally impactful depending on how much you drive.
Olives. I just don't.
She hates olives. I love olives. She hates olives. When I buy olives and I bring them home, she actually did this. She steamed the label off of the jar of olives and created a new one that just said vomit bits, and then put it back in the cupboard.
It took him like 2 months to notice it.
I can't imagine why they don't just call them that on shelf.
I know.
Here's another example of whatever it is we're talking about. Kat told me one time how she hated sleeveless black shirts. So I immediately went out and bought one and wouldn't stop wearing it. While I was away for an afternoon, she took the shirt and soaked it in water and put it in the freezer. That's where it ended up.
Oh my God. Well, Jethro, I'm quickly learning that we have the same exact wardrobe. How about quirks? I'd love to hear you guys talk about each other. What would you say is the biggest quirky thing about your co-host / partner / whatever title you want?
Kat always hums the theme to the old TV show I Dream of Jeannie when she's passing traffic.
What?
She'll put the blinker on and get out by the car, and then she'll dun 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 every time.
It's not every time.
I love that. You're so endearing.
Why are you so quick to answer these questions?
What's
weird about Kat? Oh, I have a list.
He's been taking notes on everything,
I guess so. Yeah, I'm not as great at note keeping, I guess. There's, I think everyone's got little quirks, and it's hard, especially when you've been together and lived together as long as we have, for them not to kind of just meld into everyday stuff. Like I don't even notice some of the weird things that I used to notice about you because it's just normal now. It's just
normal now.
It's not, it's not a real thing. It's just, that's just my Jay.
Right.
That's
like the sky is blue today.
Right.
How about weird talents? What's something that you guys are exceptionally good at, each of you, but it could be it's something like totally random. Like it could be like a memory trick or a I don't know, like hanging your bra on a door or something.
Yeah.
Like
I'm so good at that.
I actually did this at one of our live shows because we had a question from the audience. What are your bizarre talents or something like that?
Yeah.
no, that was me, by the way.
No, it wasn't. Okay.
At the end of every live show, we do like a question and answer thing where we've accepted questions and then we answer them. That's what you do during a question and answer. Anyway.
Revolutionary.
And thank you. So during that particular show, we talked about how Jethro has this weird talent called Echo Man.
That's what I call it. It's my superpower.
And it's so bizarre because I can't do it. And I don't. So if you say things like if you're just talking, he can just say back to you all of the things that you're saying as you're still talking. And it's very confusing and it's a little scary.
I win a lot of arguments that way. Would you like a demonstration?
Yes, please. You read my mind, Echo Man.
What do you?
Okay.
What?
Let's see. I have a card that someone sent us.
Okay. All right. Now I can't see it. You have to kind of set this up. She's on
Okay.
the other side of the table. I have no idea what she's going to read. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi guys.
Hi guys.
I just had these
had
stickers
the
printed up
stickers
and I
printed
wanted
up
to
and
share them with you because I think they'd be your cup of tea.
your cup of tea.
I was going to send in one of my Krampus cards, but they aren't printed up yet, and I got impatient. Expect that at a later date. Love the show. Thanks for doing what you do. Looking forward to seeing you at the Bijou Theater.
Okay, you lost me at the very end.
Oh my God. That's insane. That was like, you know, like when if like cable's on super late at night and it's like it goes to like the program guide and it just kind of reads stuff over and over, or like how to program your remote over and over again. That was that. So thank you for that.
Well, there you go.
That is a weird talent. Wow. I will give you that one. Oh my God.
I know, right? It's harder for me to keep reading when he's talking. I can't even read when he's talking. So I don't know how he can just talk back at me the things that I just said. It's confusing.
We did the menu at Zany's in Nashville in front of a show, a crowd there.
I failed miserably.
And did you have one, Kat, a weird talent you wanted to share?
I don't have any talents. It's one of those things. I just I don't. That's one of those things that I've never been good at is nailing down anything that I'm good at.
Okay. Well, I will just say 2 words, and people can investigate this further if they want. But poop chart.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Well, maybe my talent is supporting others.
I would say so. Ties back to the bra example as well.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. When she created the poop chart, it made a big splash when it came out.
Oh my God.
Dad jokes.
Wow. I love it. Right down my alley.
It's better than up your alley.
Okay.
Or getting stuck in your alley and you can't get it out.
We're going to just get away from the alley topic altogether. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You guys ready for it?
Ready.
Just you. All right.
Yeah, I'm ready too.
Cool. Okay.
We speak as a unit.
Yeah, we do. We're really one brain.
I thought I heard an echo there, but let's get wild. Let's get weird. What is your favorite place you've ever traveled?
Cuenca, Ecuador.
What was the city called?
Cuenca.
Cuenca. Oh, this has got an interesting name to it. What is the weirdest food you've ever eaten?
Oh.
Wow.
I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat a lot of weird things.
We're both vegetarians, so I'll have to go with Brussels sprouts.
Tempeh.
Great stuff, especially in Brussels.
We're very boring when it comes to cuisine.
You guys are just boring altogether.
Yeah,
that's true.
What's your favorite documentary you've ever seen?
Mine is Ken Burns' Civil War. I've watched it 8,000 times.
I think I would have to say, I can't remember the name of it though. The one about the National Spelling Bee. I loved that. Oh, also the one about Donkey Kong. Fistful of Quarters.
Yeah, that was
that's a great one.
That was a good one.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got to add them to my documentary list.
Yeah, check that out.
What is your favorite random possession in your house or Stephen King's house?
Besides the raccoon heart with a snake through it?
In addition to that.
Yeah. Well, they're not really possessions, but our pugs, you know.
They are treasures.
They're treasures.
Yeah.
We love them.
I've got some antique guns that I have been passed down to me through my family that I just adore. They're like,
They're
old
like,
pirate guns.
yeah, they're old pirate guns. She has a blunderbuss.
And now
How many people can say that?
I was going to say, I think we're just making up words at this point.
No, look it up. Blunderbuss. It's
That
a thing.
is very cool. Very cool. Very unique. Well, thank you, Kat and Jethro Gilligan. By the way, do you prefer, when you don't say the last name, do you prefer Jethro or Jethro Gilligan?
Just Jethro's fine.
All right. Thank you, Kat and Jethro Gilligan, for coming on the show and sharing everything. This is amazing. I just love what you guys are doing. And I think there's lessons that can apply to anybody, whatever they're doing. So thank you for coming on. Congrats again, just for the hell of it.
Oh,
and where is the best place people can connect with you and the show, and also submit ideas for the show?
Theboxofoddities.com. Theboxofoddities.com. And that's pretty much a clearinghouse for everything from live shows to merchandise to contact information to whatever.
Links to our social media, so on and so
all
forth.
that stuff.
Perfect. And then last thing here, final thought, stage is yours. It could be a quote. It could be, I dream of Jeannie, humming, expertise. I don't know what I'm saying, but
okay,
you know what I mean. Anyway, take us off here.
My favorite quote comes from Groucho Marx, who said, outside of dogs, books are man's best friend. Inside of dogs, it's too dark to read.
I love the Oscar Wilde quote, moderation is a fatal thing. Nothing succeeds like excess. Of course, he's not really someone that you want to follow the advice of.
No.
So let's just go with keep flying that freak flag.
Keep flying it. I love it. All right. Awesome. And you guys have a real life freak flag. So I give you credit to turning that into physical form as well. But thank you guys, and stay weird.
Thanks, Max.
The freaks have all the fun. Thank you, Kat and Jethro, for coming on the podcast and being your amazing, weird, and just beautiful selves. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite app and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Good Pods, where you can see recommendations from what your friends and all your favorite people are listening to. You can also dive into our weird marketing and, of course, weird business growth resources at hippodirect.com/blog and hippodirect.com/newsletter. That newsletter is the Hippo Digest, and it's your place for wild marketing ideas and weird ones every single week. And, of course, come connect with us and join the conversation on your favorite social media platforms at the handles Hippo Direct and Max Branstetter. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!